Oh yeah, that's good. That's really good. All of this off there, and then that's going to operate nice and smoothly. No issues at all. Really don't want to give something to the missus and then end up having it be not good. That's a pretty big recipe for an upset wife. So this should get us where we need to be, and I think I might just go and knock down these edges a little bit. Let's see if that fits in there better. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's good. So that was raised up a little bit. Can live with that. There we go. That's what we needed there. Get all the grease and grime off while we've got it all apart. Especially on all of the fretting and wearing surfaces. That's really what we're looking to get clean. Especially the interiors of the holes and the exterior of the shafts. Very important that there's no old grease in there. It's not going to lubricate anything if the grease is old. It's just going to get in the way of smooth operation. So looking to get that all cleaned out of there. That's looking pretty good. Might actually run down there with the little Dremel tool wire wheel, pull out that last little bit of what looks like minimal surface rust, and then we should be able to grease that and get it to go back together. So put that over on the workbench so we can do that. Oh yeah, it's looking great. All right, so I've got this set up in the vise right now, and I want to point out a couple of things about this. Right now the vise is kind of square on with the camera, and you can see that this is tilted up in this direction. And you can also see the lines here are tilted up. And what that indicates to me is that whenever this bike had a small or large crash, depending on how you think about it, this got pushed up and in. And it needs to be, I'm pretty much 100% sure that it needs to be pulled out like this, and that pulling this out should help correct these lines here to be straight like they should be. And then I think it's also twisted up, so we need to twist that back down. So we're gonna kind of try and set up here so that we can do those things and hopefully get us to a position where we're sort of happy with where it sits. Okay, we're gonna give this a try here, see if it's gonna work the way I want it to. And all I'm gonna do is actually take my pry bar and set it up so that my adjustable wrench is gripping it right about here. Should be about right. Yeah, like that. And then we're just going to gently pull back this way. Should give us plenty of leverage. There we go. Honestly, if that's not right on, it's pretty close. We should be able to adjust the rest of it on the bike pretty easily. And then the other thing that I want to do, which is a little bit more difficult here, we'll get this back off. There we go. I want to try and pull this down a little bit. So I'm going to need to redo my setup in the vise to get that. All right. Well, I'm certainly feeling better about that. I don't know if it's going to be bang on, but it's going to be way better than it was. So I think we'll leave that for now, and then we'll get it back on the bike, and we'll do the final straightening over there. All right, so we got all the parts here. Everything's all set. We've got our grease as well. And the way that this thing goes together, I'm going to give it a coating of grease in through here. And what we're really looking to do when we do this with this sticky, awful red grease is to leave as much as we can in that little hollow. That is actually intended to be where the grease is retained for the system. We're going to put some on both fretting surfaces like this, and then we're going to put and make sure that there's plenty of grease in that hollow so that it gets squeezed off as the actual brake pivot comes through, just like that. And then we're also going to go ahead and put some on the ID right through here. Okay, grab a little bit more. There we go. Put some on the fraying surfaces like that. Put some on the ID. Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. Okay, and then we are just going to slip those two together. Just like that. Now that that's all greased up, we're just going to kind of wipe the excess off from around here. We don't necessarily want that floating around. It's just going to gather dirt and mud anyway. There's no point in having that there, excessive like that. We'll rotate it around. We'll get off as much from that fretting face as we can. There we go. So this should work out really well. Yeah, happy with that. All right. The next thing to do is we have to keep in mind, actually, we don't need to grease these two surfaces, but we're going to, because I don't want them to rust up. It'd be hard to take apart, because the honest truth is I'll probably be the one that ends up taking it apart again if I ever have to. And a little bit of grease never hurt nobody. So we'll go ahead and grease that. And we'll make sure that we get this faying surface here, and the same on the other side. Like this. And then we're going to apply exactly the same rule here and put as much in that bearing groove as we can. We'll just go ahead and grease all these surfaces first. Make sure that we got a thin layer on there. What we don't want is anything to not have grease. Everything should have some grease on it. Okay, get another batch. Okay, that's good. And we're just going to put some grease in the start of this, both ends. I don't want things to be unlubricated, so this is a good way to make sure that grease gets squeezed out everywhere. Then we'll go ahead just like this. Oh, that's perfect. Love it. Oh, so much better. So much better than it was. Oh, that's in the wrong place. It needs to go like this. Oop. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now that that's done, we'll go ahead and take the split pin and put it back where it belongs, which is right here. What's going on here with this? Oh, there we go. All right. Might need my pliers. Let me just for the wire. Good. Fold that. Perfect. I'm liking the feel of that so much better already. That's beautiful. All right. We're going to go ahead and flip it over so we can do all the setup work on the other side. All right. Reinstall this. Okay. We'll get it yet. There we go. Okay, so the next step we got to do is get these bearings all prepped up. They're all clean. All the bearings have been sorted through. I'm going to say they're not perfect, but they're good enough. What we're going to do is drop it back together. Again, we're going to use this red chassis grease. I'm going to put plenty in the raceway. And this stuff's really sticky, and so it's really good for this because it'll keep the balls in place while we get the triple tree reassembled. These loose ball steering columns like this, they're never any fun, and the honest truth is that if the wife likes it, we'll probably see if we can't get a Timken set for it. Timken tapered roller bearings here. They tend to do better with the load and last longer and feel better, but this will be good enough for now. I wasn't actually even planning to pull it apart until I was doing all of my checks. Obligatory dropped it in the dirt. I'll wipe that off and re-grease it. Wasn't even planning to pull it apart until I was fixing the steering stops and flipping it back and forth without the handlebars on it, like just by hand. I could tell that it wasn't right, and mostly it felt like dried grease, but there's a little bit of wear on these as well. So, like I said, if the wife loves it, we will go ahead and get it fixed. Now that the grease is sitting on there for the stack up, what we'll go ahead and do is set the balls in there. And they should just sit right there, just like that in the assembly. and allow us to assemble the system with a minimum of grief. I don't know how else you would honestly do this, because it's so awful otherwise. First time I ever pulled one of these open bearing assemblies apart, I would have been about 12, maybe 11. Like this, it was obvious that something was very wrong in the steering head bearings of my little Honda Z50M. So I pulled it all apart, and you know, the first thing that happened is I think I was on the dirt in the driveway, and all of the balls just jumped out and onto the ground and everywhere, and I don't even know if I found like half of them. And this was before eBay or any of that stuff made things really easy to deal with on restorations and resurrections. Like these days, eBay and a parts manual with parts numbers, and especially for Honda, their supply of stuff is just so good. You can get by, or you can find something. You know, the internet's made this really easy. When I was doing this stuff 12 years old, I think the computer that we had floppy disks, and not the 3.5-inch like hard plastic floppies. I'm talking about the old 5 1/4s, I think they were. And yeah, it just wasn't going to happen. So these days, this is a cakewalk in comparison. And I'm very thankful for that, because it does make doing these projects with the kids just an awful lot easier. All right, there we go. Those are all done. All right, so here we have a steering head bearing. It's all assembled together. We're just going to carefully drop that down on here without dropping all of the bearing balls all over the ground. That's a key to this whole process. I took the precaution of spilling them all over the floor after setting them on my truck. So with any luck, we have already done our grounding on this one. So that's already started on the bearing taper, and what I'm going to do is drop the bike down on top of it and use the steering head to push that home. There we go, just like that. And then we'll put the weight down on the forks. And that's basically perfect. Is that going to stay put? Boy, it sure doesn't wanna. I might be in trouble here. Gosh darn it. Oh! Alright. Let's stop panicking. Pop that apart. I had one ball drop out of there. Clean that up. There we go. And what we'll do, put this like this. We'll go get the other half of the bearing, and then we'll put it together. There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna pop these off. take a look at this. Ah, that's what I thought. All right, good deal. So forks are kind of smoked, which is not shocking in the least. But I also noticed that one is taller than the other up on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our tension. So we should bring this. How's that feeling? I'm going to bring that slightly tighter, and then I'm going to back it off and retighten it. So I'm going to do that. Now I don't happen to have the right wrench for this. So what I'll do is I'll put a screwdriver in there and I'll make sure it's nice and square. Oh, and that's probably more than enough. There we go. Now we'll lift this back up. That feels about right to me. That's really good. And that is set. So we're going to get 12, 13, and 14 millimeter. It's bound to be one of these. And we're going to uncinch. What is that, 14? 14. We're going to uncinch the torque tube, or the fork tube bolts, because what we want to do is I'm probably going to see if I can just slide them out. I might be able to. That's pretty tight. We'll do the other one too. Go get my rubber mallet. I want to drive these down. Like that. And then we want to put this on. And we can see where they're going to need to go. Because part of the problem is that the previous, this bike suffered a crash at one point in its life. And must have been pretty bad, because there's some evidence of that on the brake tubes, or not the brake tube, the brake assembly on the front. And whatever caused the damage to the front brake assembly definitely, absolutely ruined the front wheel. So whatever front wheel's on this bike is absolutely from another. What we're going to do is we're going to open this up like this. I want to pull these fork tubes up off and clean them a little bit. And so probably go ahead and get that out of my way. Not quite what I wanted to do. Can't grab anything on this thing. I don't know, maybe they end up staying rusty. Golly, that's really stuck there. Let's get some WD-40 on that. That's just really wedged in there. So let's do that. See if that helps. Whew. I don't know that it did. Problem is I can't get a hold of it. Really like to get those off of there, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Should have probably done that when I could have put it in the vise before I put the steering head back together. That was a mistake. Oh well, live and learn. We'll fight with this a little bit and come back. All right, after a whole lot of cursing, they're out of there. We're gonna go ahead and get them cleaned up, figure out what's up with them, and then get them reinstalled the right way. Don't think we're gonna do anything with them. Pretty sure these seals are blown in this thing and they need a rebuild, but we're gonna leave that for afterwards. I don't have enough time to get parts in by the time my wife gets back, so we are going to have to leave that for another day. And honestly, at this point, I can live with that. They'll be a little bit bouncy, but she's a small girl. Might top out at, I don't know, 115 pounds or something. Should be fine. All right, so we got the forks all cleaned up. We're gonna get putting this back together a try here. First of all, starting with to see if we can actually get the forks to go up into the clearance assembly. I hit the entire surface with a file. They were absolutely terrible. Oh, yeah, that's way better already. There we go. That's basically what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be slip fit, and they're supposed to just come right on up. And they're doing much better than they were on the way out. I can promise that. Let's see if we can't get that all the way. There we go. Good deal. I'll go ahead and place our steering head assembly, and we'll go ahead and get our fork tubes in there as well. Or our headlight ears. That's what we want to get in there. We'll drop that right there. Like that. Good deal. And then, not entirely sure how I'm supposed to get that assembled together, actually. That needs to go further by quite a bit. Probably like that, maybe? Yeah, the bolt should be able to catch it from there. Yeah. And what we're going to do is use this to set these until we can get the bolt started inside the forks. I think that's going to be much better. I need to try and find a cable routing guide for this thing too. I can tell the cables were routed incorrectly. I'll try and fix that as well. That'll be good enough. Okay, so we'll lift that up a little bit from there. Probably to right about like that. There we go. That'll keep it honest. Put our fork gear back on. There we go. Good. That's all much better all around. All right. I'll drop that on there. We'll drop this on there. Good. Where did that go? Good. There's that washer. All right. Now that that's all dry assembled, what we can do is loosen off the pinch bolts down here. On both sides. And then we'll be able to pull the bolts tight in the fork tube itself. So I think the first thing I want to do is make sure that this here is pinched down. So we'll get our hammer and our screwdriver. Yeah, both of them have slack, so that's good. Good, that's nice and tight. I'm happy with that. Steering head feels good. Do I have any play in the steering? Nope. That is basically going to be as good as it's going to get. Okay, happy with that. Now we can go ahead and tighten up the fork bolts and pull the fork tubes up. I feel like that's probably a lot better. Let's take a look, see what it did. Actually, what we should do is tighten that all the way up. Like that. Then we'll just loosen the pinch bolt first. Huh. I was suspicious that might be the case. Okay. Let's go ahead and tighten it some more. Let's see what it does. Oh no, that's definitely all the way tight now. Let's see where it ended up positioning itself. I think this might have fixed a problem. Oh, it's gonna be like that. Oh yeah, that is officially seated where it's supposed to be. Good. No wonder they didn't have it right. That was a pain. But it's cool, we got there. But the forks are assembled, and we are done with that step. I think the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and get these tires off. These old ratty tires. And clean up the chrome on the rims. We'll check spoke tension. I know the rear one has a couple of loose spokes that we need to tighten up. And then we can go ahead and put the brand new Shinko tires on. There we go. Tell you, these old rock hard tires are always a pain. Is that enough? Yeah, looks like it is. Oh my gosh. Boy, it gets harder every year to do this work. Tire sidewalls are so stiff. It's ridiculous. It's taking everything I got just to get the sidewall flexed a little bit. There we go. Use the tube. Peel that out of there. That's a good thing. Pulled that out of there. The tube is smoked. There we go. That's what we wanted. All right. There we go. Wasn't so bad. Oh yeah, these are in great shape. I bet you every single one of those will turn too. That's awesome. All right, good stuff. Got a couple of spokes to do a minor straighten on, and then I know that one's loose at least, so we'll check them all. Polish the chrome. Get the new boot on there. Well, I guess while we're all set up out here though, we'll probably take the tire off the front wheel while we're here. Man, that's just not gonna cooperate. Let's put it right about here. There we go. That's better. There we are. Peel off now. Yep, there we go. This one's a lot softer. The rear one was ridiculous. See if I can get this out of here. Yeah, there we go. That's how they should be. Nice and supple and soft. That's trash. Oh, I'm glad that's done. I'm gonna call it for right now. My arms are beat at this point, especially from fighting with the first one. So I think we might call it a little bit early. I might come back out here and polish up some chrome and do a whole bunch of prep work later. Maybe put the boots on. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. But things are going back together now. I'm very happy about that. And we should make a massive amount of progress tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. Okay, so we have the rear wheel here at the bench. And we can kind of see that there's rust bloom showing on the chrome. Kind of all the way around to some extent. This is after being pressure washed and properly cleaned with a wheel cleaner. A pressure washing style wheel cleaner. Anyway, got a lot of rust bloom showing through, and if we turn the wheel around, that is all gone on the other side. Chrome's looking real good and shiny. Now this is a pretty small thing to do. It only takes 2 items to go through and clean the wheels up to this extent, and they'll also be protected in the future. So what I do is I've got this turtle wax chrome polish and a piece of steel wool, and all I do is put some of the chrome polish into the steel wool, kind of just like this. We'll flip it around to the bad side, and we'll pick the kind of the worst spot here. Like this is good. And then we just come in here and start rubbing with the steel wool and the chrome polish. And this is what I do for anything on chrome that's got rust bloom on it. Now it's not going to refix the chrome, but what it will do is take all the rust off, and it'll also fill the voids with this stuff. And if I really want to at the end, I'll go through and put a layer of turtle wax on it to seal all the pores in the chrome. And then we just wrap this around the edge of the rim. We go through like that. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to get the raise section as well all the way around. kind of making sure we do a good job of removing all of the areas where the rust has started to bloom on the chrome. I basically do the same treatment all the way around the rim to get it even. There's no point in doing a partial job on something like this. Just do the best we can. And then as soon as we're done with that, we come back with a piece of towel paper and we're going to wipe that off. We'll probably go through a little bit later on and do the full treatment in accordance with the instructions, where you're supposed to like put a layer of this stuff on and let it haze over and then buff it off. That's a little bit pointless right now because the layer of the stuff is all full of rust particles, so it'll do a better job if we do the proper process later. But this is just my first pass at it, and you can kind of see that the results are pretty impressive. So that area that was all rusty, looking like the part on the left, let me clean that a little bit more. There we go. Polished, unpolished. The difference is really striking, and I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. Super easy when the tires are off. Since I'm putting new tires on it anyway, there's no better time than now to go through and do this. And then the other thing that we need to do for this wheel is this wheel has got an awful lot of loose spokes. So got myself a spoke wrench here, and we're just going to go through and start tightening them. That's pretty good. Doesn't honestly take much, and doing this will keep the wheel in really good shape. Stop it from degrading over time. So I'm really happy with that. This is good stuff. So yeah, we'll just go through, do the whole wheel, get it all polished up, and then drop a tire on it, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so at this point, it is time to put wheels together. Kind of hoping that this goes pretty well. These tires are super duper soft and really pliable. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. So I'm thinking I might actually be able to drop them on by hand. So we'll give that a try, and if we have to escalate to tools, we will. But I've had good luck in the past with this, with these things, just sliding right on. Okay. Oh yeah, they're really soft. That's awesome. Okay, that's all the markings and stickers off. First thing we want to do is get our rim strips. We have two rims we're going to assemble. The trick with the rim strips, pretty self-explanatory, but they have a hole in them for the tube stem, and the trick is to make sure that that lines up with the hole in the rim. So we're going to kind of just go through and pull this on. And what the rim strips do is they keep the tube from fretting against any of the spokes sticking up. They do a really good job of that. So I'm just kind of going through and centering this up. And we're going to want to pull that around just a little bit. Pretty easy thing. That's good. Just like that. We want to make sure it's centered all around. Make our little adjustments. That's looking pretty great. So now that that's done, we want to put on the first side of our rim, and with any luck we'll be able to get that to just kind of squeak on in there. It's usually not too bad if you can get the rim dropped down in the center. There we go, just like that. and I'm just kind of pulling it on up and over by hand. So I push down on the rim and I pull up with my opposite hand, and then we just coax it on there. So that's the first half of the rim already started and centered. I'm pretty happy with that. Go ahead, grab our high quality tube. Let's see, is it Chinesium? Well, that's interesting. It doesn't say. Probably says on the tube. I'm guessing it's going to say made in China. Nice soft tube. Really good with that. Oh, made in Europe. Well, that's very broad. We'll take it. All right. What we want to do is pop the cap off here. Pop the nut off. We want to leave this little washer right there. We'll just pop the nut off. And before we actually do that, we're going to take a look on the tires. And just see if there's a paint mark on them. These are small enough, it's probably not going to matter, but a lot of tires will come with a paint mark. And that's to help in placing the tire versus the tube. But like I said, I don't think these don't have it. And that's perfectly fine. This is not that kind of machine. Be lucky to do 40 miles an hour on this thing. Okay, so we're getting ourselves all set up here. Go ahead and fit the tube up into the tire. Okay, now that we've got that kind of in place, we'll try and squeak this into there. There we go. What we want to do is get the tube stem through. There we are. Without upsetting things too much. Now you can kind of reach in here in the back, pull it forward until we get it to start, and then we're going to want to have our nut ready. Once we get it lined up, kind of push through there, just like this. We want to start the nut to keep everything honest and in place. There we go, just like that. Perfect. Now with that done, we can go through and settle the tube into the rims. We're just looking to get it hooked in all the way around, which is often easier said than done. Everything's all sticky. Everything's all fresh rubber. So we want to kind of push it in and tuck it. There we go. Into the rim. And just keep doing that all the way around until we've got the whole thing fettled in there. And what I'm doing, just to give the tube a place to go, is I'm kind of pushing it up by the middle and then letting it sort of find its happy place in there. What you don't want to do is end up in a situation where the tube is kind of all ruckled and twisted all over itself. And I see that sometimes when I take tubes out. Although that's usually more because somebody just threw the wrong size of tube in there. We'll pull this up. There we go. There. Good deal. All right, so that's kind of started all the way around. Happy with that. Now let's see if we can adjust the rim strip position a little bit. Now you can see the tire stem is sticking up, and you can see it's at a slight angle here. And what we want to do is just kind of pull the rim around a little bit until that's as straight up and down perpendicular to the rim at that location as we can make it. That's pretty good as a starting point. Now, in general with these tires, because we want the bead to drop into the hollow around the rim, what I'll tend to do is I'll start it at the back opposite the valve stem, because the valve stem is right where the rim strip or the bead needs to go. So we'll start off by just lifting up just like this, and we'll try and get that started on there. That's a little bit harder on the second side, and I might have to get the tools out for this, but it's feeling pretty good so far. Yeah, should just be able to kind of squeeze that over the rim, assuming it's dropping into the center, which it seems to be doing pretty well. There's a good chance we'll be able to pull this at least most of the way on. Pretty happy with that so far. Now you can make this easier by lubricating it a little bit, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that all the way. We'll try though. Give it a try. Nope. Gonna have to get the tools out and just slowly work it on. This is my little tire spoon, and I think this is going to be just what I want for this particular job. It's got a really nice shape on the tip, and it's got just enough of a hook in there to catch the top of the rim. This is a great tool. I don't even know who makes it. Is it marked? It is not. Yeah. So I don't know who came up with this tool, but I love it. It's perfect for doing motorcycle tires and avoiding pinching the tube. There's just enough of a lip there to get it on, and you don't have to risk the tool dropping so far down that it pinches the tube. You can keep it all in the perfect spot. Really like that. So we're just going to kind of hold down right here while we get the next little bite on the tube, smaller and smaller bites, and at a certain point it'll just end up being perfect. Now we're just gonna go through and depress that down, make sure it's in the drop all the way. Kind of just like that. Good deal. Now we might be able to get that. There we go. Perfect. I think we got one more, and we should be done with this. Oops. There it is. Good deal. Just go through, settle the whole thing. Pretty happy with that. Let's check how square we are. A little bit off. I'm going to see if I can twist the rim a little bit. pretty happy with that. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to inflate it to about, 5 or 10 psi, and then we'll pull the valve, let all the air out of it, and then we'll inflate it again to the proper pressure for this bike. So pretty pleased with how that's looking. Play card says 26 on the front, 30 on the rear. This is our front, so let's check the pressure in that. See where we're at. We're at a whole grand total of 15. That's a little high. Let some out. Not going to take much. There we go. Perfect. Go ahead and put our valve stem back on, or valve cap back on, sorry. And that is done. And now, through the magic of editing, and there we are. So that is officially all done. The brand new tires and tubes are on there. Shouldn't have to deal with that again. Give them a slight polish, and these will be ready for installation.